Yes, sir, brother. How are you?
Just hanging in, trying to stay on my assignment. That's about it. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. I got hurt back in July. I hurt my knee, and it was very, very painful. But I'm recovering. I'm going to a brother who does acupuncture, and he's extremely good. So I haven't been called up to the NFL for be a kicking specialist yet, but maybe in another month or so they might call me up.
Right on. I hear that. I'm sorry to hear about the injury, but I'm glad. It seems like you're still in good spirits and recuperating. That's good to hear.
Yeah. I'm all right. I'm doing all right. And we were in Africa for a while, and that was where my injury. I sustained the injury while I was on the continent, so I didn't get a chance to really get around very much. But hey, everything is okay.
Oh man, I'm glad it wasn't worse. That's man, injuries on travels. That is not fun. Folks who've needed some sort of medical attention while they were out and traveling, and I know that can be a hassle. So
yeah. So you still doing the radio program?
Oh, absolutely. We were on the air yesterday. We had a white guy in London, and he wrote a book called Cannibals, Mummies, and Vampires is the name of his book. And it documents the history of white people practicing cannibalism and eating other folks, and just all the stuff that they're into down through the years, and just lots of detail. And even he talks about how they were stealing corpses and mummies from the continent, and those were so highly prized, people were counterfeiting them because it was such a lucrative business. So many people wanted them to consume the skulls and other body parts from bodies on the continent. And he even has in his book about the inferiority that they had for the civilizations on the continent that drove a lot of the insecurities and drove a lot of this cannibalistic behavior. But that his book came out in like 2011. It's real detailed. It was interesting to hear about his research.
Well, yeah. I had an article I got about 25 years ago, a little small article, talking about they uncovered, I guess, a site somewhere in the UK that was composed of all these body parts that clearly demonstrated cannibalism. And I have a book called The History of Torture. It deals with, when I was teaching history at the high school level, I came across that book and found out about all the demonic things that they were doing. So it really wasn't demonic, it was really normal for them.
Exactly. That's the point that he makes, that this was widespread. Everybody was engaged in this absolutely normal behavior.
I have an article in one of my books. His article, I think it was King Henry something, I don't know what number it was, but he was decapitated, and they've been passing his head down from generation to generation to these different families. And This was disclosed, I think, about 4 years ago. I got the article in my book. So anything anybody wants to talk about, I already wrote about all of this, And it's too bad people don't tap into my books, because they could get a lot out of them.
I agree.
Then in Afghanistan, some soldiers, about 3 years ago, they were caught mutilating the corpses of the people they killed. They were cutting them up and sending the body parts back to the U.S.
I remember. That's why I don't get surprised when all the stuff they're trying to make a big deal about the torture report that came out last week. Like, that's standard operating procedure. They do that stuff all the time. Like, they They had that report that came out a few years ago where they were doing that in Chicago, where they were torturing all these black people, making them confess.
Yeah, I know about it. I know I followed it when it first broke. John Bird, a real demon. Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, I got it on tape. I don't know if it was, I guess it was a dramatization, and where they showed the black box and how he hooked up the black box with the alligator clips on the end of it, and attached it to the brothers, took them down in the basement, attached these alligator clips to the brothers, the penis, the earlobes, the fingertips, cranked this thing up, and it generated electricity, and that's how he extracted these so-called confessions from them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Young, I think I taped over it, but it was a young cop, blonde hair, blue eyes, out in California. I don't know if he was in L.A., but he quit the force, and he was being interviewed, and he said that what they used to do on patrol at night, the cops would see a brother, they would pick him up, put him in the squad car, take him out to a field, and they would play Russian roulette. They would tie him up, handcuff him, put him on his knees, play Russian roulette, and, make him open his mouth, and take 5 bullets out of, I guess, 6-bullet thing. 6 bullets in the gun. They would take 5 out, and they would just stand there and, terrorize this brother.
Mm.
Yeah, so he said he had to quit, man. He still, because, he was going to disclose this, and they were going to do something to him. You ever see the movie Serpico?
No, sir.
Yeah, go and see Serpico with I think it's Al Pacino. He was real young. He was a cop. I think he was in New York or Chicago. And he found out about the level of corruption in the police, and he was going to do something about it. And it's a true story. They set him up to be killed. They sent him on this bogus call. He realized that it was a setup by the police to kill him. And he left. I think he left the country. Yeah, go online. I'm sure the movie is there, called Serpico.
I'm looking for it now. I'm gonna check that out. I remember too. You had said that you wanted Michael Bradley's book, The Chronos Complex. Isn't that the one that you wanted?
Yeah. Chronos Complex. Yes.
Did you get it yet?
No.
I got a copy.
No, that. Oh, yeah. Last time we talked, you said it was too expensive, and this not even the original. It was a copy of the original.
Right. It was like he was just photocopying papers from it and mailing it out. But I put it on my wish list online for books that I wanted, and somebody got me a hardback copy of it. I don't know if somebody was selling it, but yeah, I got it. I just got it in the mail a few days back. I'm just gonna go ahead and mail it out to you because I'd been trying to get that for you, but yeah, I just got it in the mail.
It's real interesting. They have a commercial here on UNC Chapel Hill, and it's a company called Chronos, and I forgot what they're selling. But I said, oh, that's very interesting. I hadn't heard that in the name of a company, but that is supposed to be the son of Zeus or somebody. You know the story behind Chronos and the name?
No, sir.
Yeah. You're supposed to be calling me, telling me stuff. I'm older than you.
You the elder. You've been doing this a lot longer than I have.
I told this no. It's supposed to be both ways. But anyway, you go online. I forgot who. Some mythological character, and I think I don't know if he killed his father or avenged his father's death. His name is Chronos, and that's where they get it from. It's part of I think it's Greek mythology. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if I have it in any of my works. But anyway, that's the name. So I thought when I heard the commercial a couple of years ago, I said, that's very interesting that they would name their company Chronos, Chronos, I think it is.
Wow. Yeah, that's man. It's so much to investigate, but yeah, it's not that big a book. I checked it out because I just opened the package because I didn't know what it was. But yeah, it's not that big. But yeah, I'll go ahead and get that in the mail to you so you can check it out. Add that to the library. I've been there's been so much going on over the past 3 months or so with all the shootings and everything, and I guess just more people talking about racism being focused. Has anything stood out in what you've seen in terms of all these protests and everything that's happened since Michael Brown and Eric Garner being shot and killed?
We being taped?
I am taping it, but we're not live.
Okay. Yeah, I was actually reminded listening to a younger brother talk about this, that in the spring of 1974 is when everything crystallized for me, that, as I have repeated so often to many, many black people, that they want to kill us. It's on the cover of my book, the Declaration. I have it in just about all my books. They want to kill us, or they want to try to get us to kill ourselves. That this is the process of extermination. I heard a brother speak a couple of months ago. He calls it ethnic cleansing. Mm-hmm. And it is a it's a scientific, mathematical, methodical, calculating process. Now, I know others say that, no, this is not going to happen. However, I would remind people that a number of things. One is that I was talking to an older sister years and years ago, and I said that this same thing as I just related to you about this process of extermination. She said, oh, no, they'll never do that. And so I'm fast-forwarding to recent times, and I would say to her, well, why don't you go and ask the Aztecs? Go back and ask the Incas, or the Caribs, the Arawaks. Go and ask the Herero or the Tasmanians. And I think that you won't be able to find any of them in existence because they were exterminated. And I have somewhat adjusted my idea to let people know that extermination is, and I hear people talk about population control. I kind of go along with that. But it is statistical extermination. Meaning, and I think we talked about this before, to reduce the population, our population, to the point where it is impotent. Like the Native American population.
Right.
That, yes, some of us, like we say, the Indians were exterminated. No, there's still some here. But what condition are they in? If you go online and you listen to, what's his name? He was fired from Colorado. Gosh, I know his name. He's excellent. He does 30-something books out. I've mentioned him to you before. I can't think of his name. But he does a wonderful articulation of the extermination process of the Indians, so-called Indians, and how they used to kill the parents and then take the children, put them under the guidance of these private schools where the children were molested. They turned them into alcoholics, etc., etc.
Right.
So that's why they're in such terrible mental shape right now that they cannot even think about liberation. If you go, did I send you the piece on Russell Means?
Yes.
It's Welcome to America.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think if you go to the other panels, you can see this other brother. Man, I don't know why I can't think of his name. But so I think that this is the process that's going on now. And as I've always said, it's better for us to think that than to not think it. Because if we think that this is the process that's going on with the unleashing of chemical and biological warfare, Ghana, Liberia, Sierra Leone, that this looms as a real possibility for our people. No jobs, prisons filling up, that this all helps the white welfare nation. Because, and you go back to your question, these people that are so-called cops, the guy in Cleveland said he got fired from his suburban job, and they didn't even do a background check on him to get this position. I think I'm accurate on that.
Yes, sir.
This exemplifies white welfare. That if all these cops around this country were not cops, what would they be doing? They would be in pizza parlors and in pancake houses. And so the government, if you go on my paradigm, it has under democide. And this goes back a number of years. Under democide, it says that the government is involved with the process of extermination. And they give the green light to groups and individuals to kill black people. And then I go through a whole list under democide. Democide takes all these different forms. So this is what we're facing, in my estimation. And all across the country, and I want to underscore this thing about white welfare. The prison system is white welfare. The auto industry is white welfare. The airline industry is deep in debt, held out by the government, white welfare. General Motors got $85 billion in subsidies, white welfare. The whole nation is white welfare. Wall Street is the prostitute welfare system. People in the bureaucrats, I would call them. All that is prostitution and white welfare. And this is what is coming down to, that we are in deep trouble as African people. And I am saying, as I have said before, and people don't want to hear it, that if you go down, and you have a pen and paper there with you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, let's go down. Let's do, this is my paradigm. I'll tell you what's on my paradigm. Psychological, cultural, if you go across the page, psychological, cultural, economic, education, health, religious, social, political. Go across. Now, we're under psychological, under mind control. Right? We went over the book, Mind Control in America. And is that his thesis, that people in this country are under mind control? Everybody, basically. Is that right?
Absolutely, yes, sir.
Okay. So, psychological mind control. My point is that I'm going to show you the different groups that we have. Okay, under cultural, we have, the cultural nationalists, African-centered, etc. Under economic, I don't know who's really if we have an economic group, but there are some people. I would put the athletes and the entertainers, etc., under economic group. Under education groups, we have independent schools, charter schools, HBCUs, and there are probably some others. Under health, we got raw foodists, vegans, vegetarians, omnivores. They eat anything and everything. Under religious, I don't have to tell you, Christians, Hebrew Israelites, I don't know if Moors would come under that. Nation Islam, Orthodox Islam, Baptist, Christian, etc. Whole smorgasbord of religion. African religions, Yoruba, Akan. Let's see, next is social. You have, I would say, and we'll go back to economic. I would put the Boule under economic. That's the advisors to the king, brought to us by Steve Copley. I would also put them on the social. You have the Boule, you have the Masons, you have the Elks, Eastern Stars, fraternities, sororities, right? Okay, under political, you have the Green Party, the Independent Party, the Freedom Party, Democratic, Communist, you have Marxism, Socialism, etc. This is not complete, but you get the idea. We have all these different groups, right?
Mm-hmm.
You see that? You see it?
Yes, sir.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
All the different groups. Okay, now, if you got that going across the page, but if you would put it vertically, psychological, cultural, and you list all those groups on one side of the page, you split the page in down the center, and on the right side, you just have two words, white people. Now, all those things that I listed that our people do have not had one impact on white people. The Masons, the Boule, none of them have had any impact in changing white people. Does that sound accurate?
Painfully accurate, yes, sir.
So then, if none of those, okay, and I'll go back to 2012. In New York City, you had all those groups and more. Some I didn't even name. You had the Panthers, all of them. That's included, the Panthers, all of them. In 2012, the New York City police stopped and frisked 684,000 people, mostly young, mostly black. None of those things on the left-hand side of the page stopped any of that from happening. And over the course of the last 2 or 3 years, they killed Ramarley Graham in the Bronx. The cop kicked in the door in front of his grandmother and his brother, his baby brother. He was in the bathroom. I got to interview with the mother, or the grandmother, I think it was. Kicked in the bathroom door and shot Ramarley Graham. The mother said, I have to still go in that bathroom every day because we can't afford to move. But that's where my son and my grandson was murdered by the cops. He got off. They killed Kwame Gray in Brooklyn. Shot him, I think, 7 times. 3 or 4 times in the back when he was down. He was still alive. And he said, don't shoot, don't shoot. They killed him. There was somebody else that was killed. But my point is that all those things that we did on that left-hand side had no impact on changing those white people. So my question is, then why are we still doing those things? That's my question of all black people. Why are you still doing this when it hasn't brought about the total liberation of African people. Don't you think it is time to stop doing those things, to stop the downward spiral? You must first stop it, then you can start something new that will have an impact on changing the right side of that page. Now, does this sound logical and does it make sense? Or if it doesn't make sense, let me know, and I will scratch all of that out and I will write down what you have to say about it.
It makes total sense to me. I've been trying to get out the same message in terms of just, let's be honest about our predicament in terms of all these people going out and stomping around in the streets since they announced that they weren't going to indict Darren Wilson and they weren't going to indict Dan Pantaleo in New York for Eric Garner choking him to death and all the other cases, and saying, hey, we've been doing this march thing for years. Like, that's not new. They marched for Rodney King and marched after they killed Dr. King in '68. And you can go all the way back through the '60s and even longer if you're interested. Like, there's a track record on this. We should be able to look and make an assessment and say, okay, well, this is something that we've done before, and what happened? Did this produce the result that we were looking for? In fact, it was a black teen in New York City that was shot and killed by the police almost 50 years to the day that Eric Garner was choked to death. Like, they did like a 5-minute report on him, and they rioted for almost a week in New York after this. And we had a white guy on the program. He did his thesis in grad school on this event. And I said, well, what was the result since people rioted and did all that? And he said, well, the officer wasn't indicted, wasn't charged. They made a citizen review board that lasted at the most a year, and then the police disbanded that. It was a whole lot of black people got arrested and beat up during the course of that week of rioting, and a whole lot of property and buildings and things in a predominantly black area that were burned down, that remain vacant, boarded up lots to this day, 50 years from now, where it hasn't been rebuilt, revitalized, nothing. It's just empty buildings to this day. I said, well, okay. And I've heard this. Mr. Fuller said the same thing about D.C. After they rioted when Dr. King, and they just did a 20-year retrospective on after the Rodney King upheaval and everything in L.A. And they said the same thing. You got a whole lot of empty lots and nothing really changed. LAPD is still killing black people. You had Ezell Ford that just happened this summer. I've said the exact same thing. Like, we need to, make some honest assessments and look at things that we've done and whether or not it's had any impact at all on stopping what whites are doing to us. We just keep doing the same thing, and it's not producing any new result. I was like, white people are very good. They know how to control marches. They might even go join with you and go march around and change, what people are talking about. And I've seen that. Like, they had a sign at the march last week in D.C. It was a white minister, and he had a sign because they've been saying Black Lives Matter. And his sign, it said, Black LGBT Lives Matter. I said, man, just that right there lets me know everything I need to know about all of this. Just like the white people, they are very good. They've already read the book. They are masters at crowd control. They know exactly how far this will go until people peter out and get tired and decide that they've had enough of all this, and they just go right back to business as usual. So I absolutely agree. I think what you said, it makes perfect sense in terms of just being honest about all the things we've done thus far. They have not been effective in solving this problem.
Who was the brother that they killed 50 years ago? Do you know the name?
Yes, sir. Let's see. Let me get it. It just keeps slipping my mind. I had it memorized. His name is... They did a big piece. NPR did a big piece because they had some of the people that were alive that were in that neighborhood at the time and what they remembered seeing, and some other, like I said, they had this white guy who did a research project on it. His name is...
It's not Yusuf Hawkins. I think that was after that.
Yeah, that was, I think, like 20, and they just did a 25-year assessment on that, because that was 25 years ago, and they were talking to people. Even they interviewed some white women, because they were talking about how involved Al Sharpton was in all of that, and so they played some of the audio clips of the protest where he was involved and what was happening, and he got stabbed. A white guy came and stabbed him during the middle of all that. But they were talking to some white women, and they said, I hate Al Sharpton. He would never help me. If a black person did something to me, he wouldn't come and help me. I hope he dies. And they sat around and laughed. And I had played that repeatedly on the program, because I said, for all the people that sit around and gripe and complain about Al Sharpton and I hate him and he's a sellout, white people sit and wish death on Al Sharpton. And I'm not even saying, that I'm a fan or what have you. I feel like that's something I really try and, stay away from, that, just bashing on other black people, because white people hate all of us. Like, it really doesn't matter. They sit around and wish death on him. But the 15-year-old, his name was James Powell. He was shot in July of 1964 in Harlem. James Powell, that was his name.
I don't know him. I don't know that. I have a tape. It's a VHS tape, and I stopped searching for it, but I know I have it, and it goes back to rebellion of 1919, I think it was. And after the rebellion, they formed a commission, and the purpose of this chronology was to show that after each of these events, there was a commission that was set up, and of course it ended with the Kerner Commission. And it basically said that, these problems came from police brutality, et cetera, et cetera. They need more employment. And I don't know what's that got to do with employment and better housing, et cetera, but they linked the two together. So all the commissions have not brought anything. And I have a tape when Bush Sr. went into L.A., and he's walking down L.A. with this brother. I can't remember his name. It sounds like he's Hispanic. And they're showing the devastation, and Bush is very somber looking, and he's got this entourage. They're all walking through the aftermath of this destruction, and he's like, oh, my goodness. I'm looking at his face, and people would think that he said, oh, this is bad, this is awful. But this guy said, this is wonderful. This is just what we this is just what we want. And then he said that he was going to go back to D.C. and generate this money to infuse into the community. And that demon went back and he said jack back to the people, man. So I think that my statement is one of the few verbal statements that put us on the offense. See, everything we do is defense. But my statement says it's time for us to get off of the second team or the skins team and get on the first five and start playing offense. See, I was over at the gym a couple of years ago, and the guys, they called me Doc. I said, okay, Doc, we chose up the team. You're going to play skins. I said, yo, man, I'm not playing no skins. I haven't played skins since I was a sophomore in high school. I'm always on the first five. So it's time for us to get on offense. And how do we get on offense? All we got to do is start thinking about it. And once people start putting my statement in their heads, that this is the solution to the problem, then each individual that does that will change his or her behavior. Absolutely. In all those areas I just talked about. They'll change their psychology, they'll change their cultural outlook, their economics, and all of that. That's part of de-whitenizing. And the more we de-whitenize, the more we'll have an impact on this system. Because then the people say, hey, these people are now, they're serious about this. So if you come to me, you come to Kamau, if it were up to me, and based on my spending alone, this thing would have collapsed 40 years ago. Because I don't spend money or very little money on anything. I'm not supporting, I'm not financing my own destruction. Now, there was a thing that went out that said Sam's and Walmart gave $10,000 to Darren Wilson. Did you see that note?
No, sir.
Yeah. They said, actually, there was a sign at one of the protests that made this statement. And you go and read the article online about it, and the person that is doing the analysis on it said that there's no evidence that this is true. However, even if it is not true, it proves my point that the profits that these companies and corporations make, they give the profits to entities that will continue to destroy black people.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever profit they make, they'll give it to the PBA, Police Benevolent Association. They'll give it to the Klan, etc. But we finance our destruction by basically what we buy. But in other instances, we're forced into buying certain things, spending money on certain things. So now they said, black people in this country, they spend over $1 trillion, $1.1 trillion. But that's not an accurate figure, because we're forced to pay for electricity. We're forced to pay rent or property taxes, heat. We don't control the gas or the oil. So we got to take some of this money out of that figure because we don't own or control those things. And that's what we got to get a hold of. We have to own and control everything we need. See? So if we extract the things that we don't own and control from that equation, we don't spend $1 trillion. And the money that we do spend is basically on the things that we want. And we have to change that and just buy what we need.
Mm-hmm.
That's when people will know that we're serious.
Absolutely.
So I just finished this little piece that's going to be on my website, hopefully soon, about the black FM radio stations that sell death to black people through their ads and partying and going to the different shows. This is all over the country. We got to do something about that. So that's really all I have to say about this madness that's going on.
That spending piece, I've been saying that because people were saying they were going to boycott Black Friday, and I'm still not excited about it, because I just said that they've done studies and they said if you're just going to do a one-day boycott, all people do is either take all the money that they would spend on the day of that boycott and spend it the day before, or they spend it the day afterwards. Like if we're really talking about making some substantial progress, it would have to be like permanently changing our spending patterns. Like I had mentioned what you said consistently, like, if you're really upset about Darren Wilson not getting indicted and what have you, hey, no more jumbo TVs, no more iPhones, no more iPads, like none of
cable
that.
TV.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Not going to
$150 sneakers and all that madness.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I've been engaged in a 40-year boycott against these demons. I want that on record. I've been involved in a 40-year boycott. This is the longest. I have the longest boycott in the history of our people against these demons. And you can play this over the air. I don't buy it. And, you know, I work out. But I knew I wasn't going to go and buy sneakers for whatever it is. So I remember when the Marburys came out. And I think he was selling Stephen Marbury was selling his sneakers for like $12 or $15. And I told you, I drove 45 minutes. I heard they were in North Carolina. I drove 45 minutes to this place and got a pair of those sneakers. And then a friend of mine in the city sent me some. He said, "Come on, I know you want these shoes because they're so cheap." I said, "Yep." And he sent me like 4 pair.
Oh.
So I'm going to be shooting jump shots at 95 years old.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Because I told people, I said, I'm not going out to do any of these marches. I'm not going out to do any of these protests. Because I'm in Seattle, and the white people here, the night that in November when they announced that they weren't going to indict Darren Willis. First, I said that back in August. I told them, I said, they're not going to indict him. I said, this is a white police officer. You can just go ahead and cash that. This is not going to trial. And when they announced that they was not going to trial, they, even here in Seattle, they were out running around in the street, and they had it's a whole lot of white people here. It's not a whole lot of black people here. They were throwing eggs at people and businesses, and I just said, come on, man. Like, these white people, they have a long track record of this sort of thing. They will go out, especially some of the younger white people, they will go out, and it'll be fun for them, where they can be mischievous and do, some down with the man, they had that with the hippies in the 60s and Students for Democratic Society and all that. They'll go and play around and confuse black people and make us think that, oh man, some of them are good. Not all of them are demons. Some of them, they want change. They want justice. And they'll do that for a couple of years or what have you. And then after they've had their fun, then they go back to the business, go back and get their job, go work with their parents and uncles and grandparents and just continue going about the business of terrorizing us. And I just said, no, I'm not anything just off top. I wouldn't care what it is. Anything. If I see white people participating in it, I already know that this is not constructive. This is not about black liberation, because if it was, they wouldn't be present. They would be doing everything that they could to shut it down. So that just off top lets me know.
I guess that's why white people are not sending me any contribution.
Exactly. Exactly.
Well, I have a word. I can't say that I'm the originator of the word to describe those white people that participated in this. But the word is, they are our frenemy. That's a friend and enemy. They pretend to be a friend, but really they are the enemy. They are our frenemy. Go ahead.
I was going to say, in my opinion, that makes them even more dangerous, because there's so many of us that have been, as you say, whitenized. I use that example you shared on the program where we have that white traffic cop in our head that, tells, oh, don't be listening to Dr. Kambon, don't do that. You don't want to be listening to what he's talking about and kind of guiding our behavior. That white traffic cop, it's like, oh yeah, these white people here, they're great. That's your friends. Listen to them. You should hang out with them. See, not all white people are bad. I feel like they're even more worse, because it really just throws you off completely. That's going in the opposite direction of de-whitenizing. I feel like once you start seeing these examples of these white people that are allegedly not racist, they're not a part of the white terror dominators, that just makes it even worse and just throws us into more confusion.
Right. So that if you go to my paradigm, you go right to mixed messages. So they say this, but they do that. And that leads to confusion. And I like to break that word down. Con means against, fusion, against the unity of black people. And that's why we stay confused. And if you go and look at that list I gave you in the beginning, all that is nothing but confusion. Because if you look at all those like you're looking at an Olympic-sized swimming pool that has like 10 lanes, and you have these ropes that separate each lane. That's how all those groups are. Each of them, each is in a lane, and they can't and won't go into the other lane. And that really amplifies confusion.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I want to go back to, I didn't finish the thought before that. With all this unfolding, I've been talking about this for 40 years. And everything is happening just like I said it would happen. And it is going to get worse. And I've been saying it. People don't want to hear it. And the people that I know they want to call. I had a friend call me a couple of weeks ago. He's a very good friend of mine. And I've known him for about 25, 30 years. He said, Kamau, your phone should be ringing off the hook. You've been talking about this for years and years and years. I said it should be, but it's not. Because they don't want to call me to tell me that I was right, and they were absolutely wrong. I said, I know you Negroes are wrong, because you haven't been in the situation that I was in, where you could actually see and understand who we're dealing with. And because people are getting this second and third hand, they don't understand what we're dealing with. And that's why people did not think that I was right. But yes, this is true, and I've been talking about it. And that's why I said in one of our discussions, this is why I wrote all of this down, to see if I'm right. And you go back to my books, and all my books, stuff I didn't write. Well, I got little papers that I wrote years ago. And everything I wrote is pretty accurate about this situation. So it's unfolding just like I said it would. And it saddens me that I'm right. I don't want to be right about this.
Mm-hmm.
But it is getting more and more serious. And you're going to see more and the escalation of more and more tragedies among us by external forces and internal forces because of our lack of understanding of what we're dealing with. But despite all that, I'm optimistic because, again, I say it only takes one person to come up with the solution to the problem. So I would encourage families who have children to get their children chemistry sets. Get their children to learn the periodic table. To learn how to make different compounds. I was listening to NPR today, and they're talking about how they can regenerate certain tissues and through this three-dimensional printing, and they can generate air. They're not yet up to livers and kidneys. They probably are. They're not telling everybody. But this is through science. So I say that the white people are scientific, mathematical, methodical, and calculated. So that's what we have to be. We have to be scientific. We have to be scientific in our behavior and approaching things. You know, you have to say, like I've said before, whatever I do, who benefits from this? Am I benefiting or enriching the terrorists, the terror dominators and deceivers, or is this for liberation? And as much as possible, we have to try to minimize and eliminate our contradictions, our contradictions. See? And that will go a long way. If we minimize our contradiction, we just do what we say we're going to do. I had a brother the other day said, man, I'm going to come by and see you tomorrow. And he didn't show up. I said, hey, how can you say you're going to do this and then you not do it? And then not to compound it, not call to say you're not going to do it. See, so just doing what you say you're going to do. Don't say, oh, something came up. Well, if something came up that's not an extreme emergency, then whatever it is should be second to your first commitment. So just a little thing like that. So if I can't do something, I'll call, hey, I can't do this, so-and-so, whatever the issue is. So that's part of de-whitenizing. So it's, I got all this laid out in my 3 paradigms. I spent a lot of time on this. This is not just, I just do this together. So it will show you everything step by step. It'll show you genocide. It'll show you democide, the wrong concepts. It'll show you subtle suicide. It'll show us the feedback. So this is an example. You go right to the paradigm. What is this decision with these whiteys? And this is feedback. Feedback is physical. It was verbal. It's nonverbal. It's and sometimes no feedback is feedback. So we're getting into feedback, but we're not able, as I said in our discussion, we are feedback illiterates. We don't know how to read the feedback we're getting. And as a result of not being able to read the feedback, we continue to do the same things over and over again. Mm-hmm. But in order, once we learn how to read the feedback, we can do several things. As I pointed out, we can adapt, we can adjust, or we can eliminate the feedback. And we start to eliminate the feedback that we're getting. You go right to the next step. You de-whitenize, download, delete, reject white concepts and actions. Then that you stop being a co-conspirator in your own destruction. Then you go to re-Africanization, getting the principles, learn how to love yourself, getting the principles of the wisdom of our of Africa, because it's enriched with all kind of wisdom. Then we can move to black liberation. See, and then once we achieve that, then we go to the new paradigm. So it's all laid out. I don't want to die and people say, oh, wow, man, this guy, he had the paradigm set. Oh, you Negroes, where were you all? This guy called me the other day. He wrote me a little note. He said, wow, I didn't know you had so-and-so. I had that 20 years ago. He said, well, I got to get up to speed. I said, I guess so. Yeah, I've been around the track like 5 times. Yeah, you are. You just getting started. So, hey, that's okay as long as you're on the track.
That's one thing I'm hoping with all this, that hopefully, particularly younger people, more of us will be getting on the track and being serious. Like I emphasize that I play that clip to this day where you said black people are very serious about not being very serious. And just, getting us to realize that, this is war. War is being waged against us worldwide. We need to be very serious in how we go about dealing with that and not joking around and being goofy when we deal with this. Because, I saw a whole lot of people who were upset and crying and mad when all the way through. Watching the video with Eric Gardner or Michael Brown, and then them not being indicted, and Tamir Wright, just whatever. People, are saying, man, this is serious. This is terrible, what's happening. We should have that same serious frame of mind 24/7. And as you were saying about just being scientific, trying to learn. as much as possible, being methodical to get information. I think you had said before, just overpowering them. Like I try to convey that all the time in terms of reading and trying to be learning something. I think you had said that when you had your children when they were younger, you would take them to the library and say, these are your competitors. These are the people that you're competing with on this planet, and trying to get information, like just trying to have that sort of frame of mind. I think that would benefit us greatly, as opposed to just having these brief outbursts, and we get upset about this for a brief period of time, and then we just revert back to habit where, oh well, that was sad, back to the movies and all the other silly stuff that we're doing normally under these conditions. I think that and then Dr. Wells, she said too, she said that she thinks it shouldn't be minimized. I think the subtle suicide, when you touch on it, she was saying that black people are in a state of trauma and depression, and she was saying that she thinks for a lot of black people that they avoid being serious about racism because they're in so much pain and just feeling so overwhelmed by everything.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't quite, this whole thing about pain. But a football player, it's a big game. He gets hurt, and the coach takes him out, and he got a broken hand. He said, "Coach, I don't care about that broken hand. I'm going back in."
Mm-hmm.
So that pain, we do go through all kind of pain. But how many movies? There's a good movie. A man always tells me about. It's a cowboy movie where this guy, he gets beat up, and he winds up. Somebody brings him to this cabin, and he's just, his ribs are broken, and this and that. But in a couple of days, man, he's so bent on getting even that he drags himself out of the bed, gets on a horse, and rides I don't know how many miles to get this revenge. How many times have you seen Bruce Willis in a movie beat up, bloody, and yet he goes and he winds up getting even? It's on and on and on. You see, that this thing in Afghanistan the other day, the people said, oh, how could they do this to children? And the report came back from those who did the crime, not so-called crime. They said, you inflicted pain and suffering on our families. We have inflicted pain and suffering on your families. So they were in deep pain. So how come we're the only ones who get paralyzed by pain? I don't get it. There are too many examples of people in emotional and psychological pain and trauma, but yet they keep going. You understand what I'm saying?
Oh, for sure. I think it's a lot of examples of black people, continuing to try to solve this problem, even though they're in immense pain. I think Minister Malcolm, I think, great example of that. Rosa Parks, I think it's tons of examples of that. I think with particularly right now in 2014, I think it's a lot of folks who are confused about what to do to be in pain, and then what should we be doing to try to solve this problem. I think it's a lot of people, they just have no idea what to do, where to go, just not having an in-depth understanding of what the problem is. I think that contributes to being immobilized, just not knowing what to do.
Well, I was very honored to do the part of the eulogy for Baba Herman Ferguson. He passed on September 25th, 2 days after John Coltrane's birthday. And the memorial was October 4th, Saturday. And part of the eulogy, I pointed out that he's just such a giant. I said he's ginormous in terms of his position against the white terrorists. And he's really on the level of Malcolm. And they were friends, even though I think he's highly respected he and his wife all across the country. I said, well, how do you get to black liberation? And one of the ways is through trauma, experiencing trauma. You know, the police stop you, drag you out the car, beat you up. And hold on one second. Hold on one second, bro.
Yes, sir.
Oh. Oh, you got his cloth? Oh, wow. Okay, I'm gonna leave them. And we got people coming in here. I forgot, where were we, brother?
You were talking about doing the eulogy for Herman Ferguson.
Right. And so I said in the eulogy that how do you become conscious? How do you get to black liberation? And one of the ways, out of the several ways, is through trauma. Police stop you, something extreme happens, and you become conscious. So, wow, this is a problem. I need to do something about this. So that's one way. The other way under trauma is vicarious trauma. You see someone who experiences trauma, one of your racial relatives, and that, when I say racial relatives, I mean that we have our racial relatives all over the planet Earth, whether they're in Kenya, Somalia, anything happens to any of them. Norway, if there's an African in Norway and something happens to them, like the brother that got killed in the UK at the bus stop, that's our racial relative. See, so then you become connected with everybody on the planet who looks like you. And then when they experience trauma, you experience it vicariously. If you sit down and look through the book without sanctuary, or go online and look at you just sit there and look at those pictures of the lynchings, they hang 4 brothers, 4 black men together. They hang this one and castrated him. That's vicarious experience. You see, that's how you become conscious. But of course, I said that what the white dominators do, they fill our heads with so much garbage that there's no room in our heads for black liberation. So you come to somebody with black liberation, and we got all this garbage in our heads. Yeah, people, I don't want to hear that. What are you talking about? I don't want to hear that. So you don't want to hear it. Well, then you'll suffer under it. You'll definitely suffer under it. If you don't want to hear it, you just go. Like I tell people now, I don't try to convince anybody of anything. That's what you want to do. You go and do it. Go ahead. And then let's see what happens. You'll find out at the end whether it's the truth or not. And that's why I said we got to do the truth. Not just know the truth, we got to do the truth. And so everybody said, oh, well, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Okay, well, what's the end game? And that's really the crux of this whole thing. What's the end game? Where are we going with? You go through that list. The Boule, the Masons, this secret society, we're Marxists, we're this and that. But what's the end game? Nobody has the end game. See, the end game is total liberation from under white terror, domination, and deceit. And it's only liberation that will get us from under this. That's the only thing. And we talk about all this other stuff. That's why I don't, as I said in the eulogy, Baba Herman Ferguson, he did not commingle or cross-pollinate belief, philosophy, principles, ideologies, religion, concepts, or other actions with black liberation. He didn't commingle any of that, because in the constellation of things, black liberation is outside of and above the aforementioned. And that's what makes it stellar. It stands alone. And until we get that, we're going to go through the same scenario over and over again. Now, people are pissed off at the killings of these black men. I know you followed the killing of Alfred Wright. Mm-hmm. Most people don't even know that. And the sister that was in Iraq, and her father, his name is Dr. Johnson, said that he's been investigating this for a while, and he went to Sharpton and others, and nobody would even touch him or broadcast it. But his daughter was shot. They said that she was shot with a rifle. But when he did a independent autopsy, found out that she was shot with a 9mm, and her jaw was messed up. She was sexually assaulted. I believe that's what he said. And so what are people going to do when they find out about all these other atrocities that's going on right under their noses? They did a piece last night on this brother in North Carolina that was found lynched under mysterious circumstances. Now, what are black people going to do when they find out that hundreds of thousands of black men are in prison because of lying cops who got on the witness stand and lied? What about the fact that the prosecutors manufactured or hid critical evidence that would exonerate a brother? what about the public defender who is a friend of the prosecutor and in cahoots with the prosecutor and not really vigorously defending a brother? And consequently, the judge sitting there knowing that the three of them are liars. There was a judge that instructed the jury one time. He said a cop was on the stand, and he asked the cop, he said, how long have you been a policeman? The guy said, 10 years. I think he said 10 years. And the judge looked at the jury and said, that means he's a professional liar. And the judge is sitting up there, he's scared to death of the police. So he's going along with the program, or he has stock in the prisons, in the private prisons. So we talk about a kangaroo court. This whole thing is bogus. They are all criminals. So let the people, tell the people about the hundreds of thousands of black people in prison over this garbage, over the Rockefeller laws. Hey, come on, man. You kidding me? Shit, if this don't piss you off, you don't want to change this, go, and if you get a chance, go and listen to Malcolm, the Oxford debate, and where he says, and I for one want to change this miserable condition. It marks 50 years since he had the Oxford debate. I think it was December 3rd, 50 years ago. And it's still just as relevant today as it was when he gave the speech.
Absolutely. 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 I told folks, you know, I feel like a part of the terrorism, we had a black female, her name is Dr. Marva Robinson. We had her on the program Sunday.
What's her last name?
Robinson.
Robinson, okay. Mm-hmm.
She's president of the St. Louis Association of Black Psychologists, and they've been doing free counseling in the metro St. Louis area since Michael Brown was shot and killed. And she says she talked to a black father. He's married too. She said she talked to him, and he said that he felt like he was drowning. He said he felt like it didn't matter what he did. He could protest. He could be violent. Didn't matter what he did. He said that white people had total control over his life and could do whatever they wanted to do to him or his children, and there was nothing he could do about it. And she said that they had been trying to talk to all these black people and help deal with it. She said she felt like it had got to the level of torture in terms of what they were doing to the black people that were there who were just trying to process all this. And I said, this is every day. Like, this is not, because people were saying, you know, they were shocked. It reminded me what you said, Michelle Alexander, the female, she wrote the new Jim Crow. And she does have a white parent. I make sure I point that out because I think that's important.
She has what?
She has a white parent.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
But we were talking about her work before, and you said, you know, the scholarship is fine, but it's, you know, where you been? Like, you just found out that they've been locking up all these black people? Like, you just now finding out about this? Like, gosh, where have you been for the last 50 years? That's the same stance that I take about this. Like, y'all just now finding out that they shoot and kill black people all the time? Like, this is every day. Like, what, y'all just now finding out that this is a problem? Like, come on, man. Like, like I don't even, you know, get that. Not that it's not a tragedy. I mean, it is. It's horrible, all of this stuff happening. But I mean, this is every day. This is just, you can just add that, and it's continuing to happen. It's happened since those cases. It's just, this is what happens every day under this current system, and that's why we need to be serious to go about the business of solving it. But yeah, you know, the people that are seeming like, you know, they're really traumatized and they can't believe this and all that, it's just like, come on, man, this is every single day. You couldn't even keep track of all the names of people. I told someone yesterday, I said, man, they in Cleveland, and it's just coming out now because of Tamir Rice, the 12-year-old that got shot, and then the Justice Department, the report that they released about how the whole system there was corrupt. But they had, 2 years ago, and I had just forgotten about it. I remember playing it on the program and talking about it, but it slipped out of my mind. They fired 137 rounds at 2 unarmed black people in Cleveland. Killed both of them. They were unarmed, hadn't committed a crime. They were just in a vehicle that backfired, and the police they thought that they were firing at them and had a weapon or what have you. I said, I don't remember anybody marching. I don't remember any T-shirts. I don't even know their names. That didn't become a big, oh my gosh, I can't believe this happened. What are we going to do? And that was just 2 years ago. This is not ancient history. This was right at the end of 2012 that this happened. And it wasn't a big deal. No protest, no sweet potato pie for them. No, this happens every day. If you are a black person, this can happen to you at any moment. Like I tried in every program saying that one of the worst decisions, that we are under conditions of war, sobriety would be best. It's one of the worst decisions that you can make to take a drink, become intoxicated, and go out of your house, get behind the wheel. That's one of the worst decisions that you can make. You're making it easier for every Darren Wilson in the world to do whatever they want, and then they'll be justified. Oh, he was drunk or she was drunk, and we couldn't. Yeah,
like was it Jonathan Farrell in Charlotte? Mm-hmm. He got him 11 times. I think it was 11 or 12 times. Man, the guy's car broke down. But this, I got a picture of this brother in one of my books. His name is Verissee. I think it's Verrissee. He's in Florida. I think he's in Miami. He was shot 100 times. Oh, no, I'm sorry, 81 times by 81 or 100 times by a cop in Miami. And I have an article that said, this goes back maybe to 2011 or 12, somewhere around there, that eight black men, they say men, these are young guys, in their 20s. 8 black men were shot in 7 months, something like that, by the police. So now I was pissed off. Tom Joyner, in this morning show back in June, was advertising this big gospel fest in Orlando. And I'm saying to myself, well, why is he going to take hundreds of black people to Florida to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars, or at least thousands of dollars, going to Disney World, going to the hotels, transportation, flight, airplane flights, buses, cars, to give to people in Florida who hate them? Why would he do that? So there's another group that's going to have a conference there called the Warriors Conference. And the brother called me and told me about it. And I conveyed to him this history of that area around Orlando in 1921. 1924, they killed his brother and ran the black people out of the town. So you have to know a little history or do some investigation before you just jump up and start doing all these various things. So the best thing for black people to do is to sit down and shut up and stay put and stop engaging in all of this stuff that we're involved with.
Absolutely. I said that when they had the big protest last week. I remember what you said about when they have all these conventions, and you can take all of that money and organize and say, well, somebody, let's make sure that we have a black bus company, since we're going to be having all these people coming in from all over everywhere. Let's make sure we have a black bus company that's providing some black people with jobs and making some money for black people, or a black plane company, or black hotels, since you got all these people coming in, so that you have some black people making money off of them, as opposed to just giving all this money to whites to transport us to this event and then lodge us and feed us while we're doing all this, and it still hasn't accomplished anything.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. Okay, take care. All right. Yeah, well, we've been down this road before. This is not new territory. It's just new to some people. It's new to a majority of black people. They don't just know what's going on.
I totally agree. What do you have a theory on why that breakdown, I guess, happens in terms of people not connecting the dots in terms of between why we don't hey, we've been down this road before, we've done a lot of this stuff before, it didn't work then, we should be trying something. You have a theory on why that doesn't happen?
Well, I guess the guy, Burrell had the book on brainwashing.
Right.
And Dr. Shante has the book, The Psychotechnology of Brainwashing. And, of course, people don't want to look at reality. We don't want to look at, this is real. People are dying. I was reading an article years ago, and it was about some black people that died. I said, man, people are dying. This is very serious, man. And we just, I have people I know, I'm serious. They do not want to deal with me. It's like I'm not a raving maniac, running around screaming. We had when we had the bookstore, we had a wall of evidence. I had a wonderful brother, John, who took many of my news articles. I used to cut out articles all the time for years and years. Atrocities against black people. Some of it was, some of the articles show something good happening, but most of them about the atrocities all over the world against black people. And we had, let's see, the wall is like 8 feet high, and let's see, that one wall, 8 feet by like 5 feet, and the other side was about the same, filled with news articles. And people would come in and they would look at this and they were just like, what is this? And I really wanted to break them down, the articles, into each of those areas. This is psychological assault, this is cultural, economic, etc. So we couldn't do that. That was really too much. But just them looking at these articles and the posters and the pictures, for example, there's a picture of Emmett Till, and his, the picture from Jet magazine. There's a picture of a little white boy. He's not more than 4 years old. He got on an army hat, camouflage, and a rifle over his shoulder. Something about, preparing our youth. Preparing white youth for whatever. I had all these articles, and people were coming in. They couldn't believe it. I said, yeah, these are in regular newspapers. This is not some secret press that I got that people are sending me. And I was sending it to my friend who was a professor at one of the universities, and I would send him the articles, and the professor saying, are you part of a secret group? No, this is in the regular newspaper. So the people don't want to deal with reality, but reality will deal with them. So that's a quote you can put up.
That is the
don't want to deal with reality, but reality will deal with you.
That is the truth. That is the absolute truth. We talk about that all the time in terms of how come people don't grasp. This is real. Like what we're dealing with. This is war. They are waging war against us. They are not playing. They are very serious and methodical. And going about terrorizing us, and just trying to get us to stick with that, and not just be outraged about it for a couple days, but to stick with that as that's what we got to deal with. That's our assignment from the Creator, and sticking to that until the assignment has been completed. What's I guess I have heard from some people saying that they feel like black people, like you were saying, we have racial relatives around the planet, people that look like you. Stephen Lawrence, the black male in the UK that was stabbed to death some years ago, and Mark Duggan, they shot him to death a few years back when they had the London riots, and different things that happened to black people.
Say that last part again, I missed that.
Mark Duggan, the black male, they shot and killed him in London, that sparked the London riots in 2011. People saying hey, black people around the world, they are not concerned about things that happen to black people here in the States. And when they come here, when they migrate here, they stick to their own group. They're not interested in having anything to do with black people that are here in the States. So we should take the same perspective. Like we're just because you're a black person, that doesn't mean that we're all in this together. That's just not what it is, and we should all just stick to our own. Black people should be worried about black people here in the States, and let black people that are in other parts of the world, they can worry about their own affairs. Like, what would your response to that be?
That's pathological.
That's pathological. Why is that?
Well, because I don't believe anybody else does that. And we shouldn't do it, because Marcus Garvey said race first. So that should be our stand, race first. All for one, one for all. Where does that come from? You see, in India, remember the little girl got raped on the bus?
Oh, right.
Brutalized?
Right.
The whole nation. Don't tell me all those people are together. In fact, the people, Indians from around the world, were sympathetic to that. Remember just about a month ago where the two Palestinians went into the synagogue and killed 4 people with a gun and a machete and a butcher knife? The whole nation. Don't tell me all them Jews are the same. Right? They're all in different sects. SECTS. They're all in different sects. But the whole nation stopped. People on this side stopped. They had the funeral for those 4 people. Remember the 3 boys that were killed in Israel?
Right.
Within the last year?
Yes, sir.
The whole nation stopped. The people I always talk about in Dubai, about 3 or 4 years ago, when the Israelis killed the Palestinians. It was a massacre. But in Dubai, they canceled all the New Year's Eve parties. I got the article. They interviewed a chef in a major hotel. He said, man, we've been preparing for this New Year's Eve celebration for a long time. We're going to lose millions and millions of dollars. But they stopped and cut all that off in solidarity with their racial relatives, the Palestinians. You see? So this is what everybody does. And this is why when a cop stops a Jew, so-called Jew, on the highway, he doesn't see just that one singular Jew. He sees the rabbis, he sees the Israeli lobby, he sees the Mossad, he sees the Knesset, he sees the state of Israel. He don't see that one little Jew. You follow me? He stops an Italian. You think he just sees that one little Italian? No, he doesn't. He sees the Pope. He sees Rome. He sees the Mafia. So does that kind of answer that question?
Well, they would say, that other people, they might demonstrate that, race first, and, we have international solidarity. When you wrong one of us or something happens that concerns one of us, all of us pay attention to it, and we, all devote our attention and resources to that problem. But black people don't do that. Like people on the continent, they don't do that about black people here in the States or black people in the Caribbean. They, are not focused on and trying to help black people here in the States. And then when they come to the States, they don't hang out with black people. Whites have programmed and conditioned them to think poorly of us, just like we've been conditioned to and brainwashed to think poorly of them. So they don't hang out with us. They stick to themselves. So it's incorrect for us to think just because we have a lot of melanin that we all have the same interest or that we all are concerned about each other, because they just don't see that demonstrated.
Mm-hmm. Well, what can I say? They don't see it. They don't see it. But when the cop stops them, he doesn't say, he doesn't look at them and he doesn't distinguish them from anybody else. Whether you're from the Virgin Islands, Somalia, Amadou Diallo, it doesn't matter. So, hey, what can I say? They don't want to do it. They don't want to do it. Then we just keep perpetuating this thing. But Marcus Garvey and Kwame Nkrumah talked about Pan-Africanism. Dr. Clark talks about Pan-Africanism. You know, one God, one aim, one destiny. You know, we're all one people. That's what they've been pushing. So this is where the brainwashing comes in, when people don't see us working together in solidarity. We see all these differences. Hey, then stuff is still going to happen. But, and as Dr. Clark pointed out, hey, we came in the hulls of these ships. We didn't come here as, you know, from the Caribbean or wherever it was. We were all in the same boat, and we still all in the same boat, whether we agree with it or not. That's why I said, you know, the title doesn't matter. Our titles, our cars, none of that really matters. Let me give you the probably a better understanding of it. It doesn't matter what kind of title we have. It doesn't matter what kind of car we drive. It doesn't matter if we have a big house or whether we're homeless. Doesn't matter about our education, whether we have a degree or whether we never went to school. Doesn't matter about any of that. We are all still considered, how can I put it? Oh, man, I lost that. We're all considered still, despite all of that, houses, cars, titles, we are all still considered biologically, intelligently, and genetically superior human beings to the cesspoolians. Does that make sense? You understand that thinking? We usually say, oh, it doesn't matter what our title is, this and that. We are all still, and you know what the ending of that is. But I'm saying we got to shift our thinking. We can say all that. Doesn't matter our title, the cars, and whatnot. We are still a superior human being, biologically, intellectually, and genetically, than the cesspoolians we're dealing with. And as soon as we realize that, then we'll all be better off. But as long as we continue to see ourselves as separate, and this is what I've been fighting against, this whole thing about these different groups. Malcolm talked about that. Everybody's been talking about that same thing. You know, you separate yourself. Hey, that's foolishness. That's foolishness. So let them keep doing it, and they're going to still keep getting the same thing. But when the cop stops a brother, and that brother steps out of the car, that cop should see a united Africa. And everybody in this country who looks like that brother should be behind that brother 100%. All for one and one for all. That should be our philosophy. That if you mess with this one, you're messing with all of us. That's how it goes down. The Italians the same way. That's what the Italians say. Yeah, you mess with this one, you mess with all of us. Everybody needs to go back and look at The Godfather. Michael Corleone iced his own brother for selling out the family. Right? Don't sell out the family. Don't sell out the African family. Does that all seem to make sense, or is that kind of way out.
It definitely makes sense. It definitely makes sense. I think, like you said, just that there's so much squabbling. We spend so much time. That's one of the big things, my observations that I've seen. We spend a lot of time fussing with other black people that we don't like, and
I spent all that time just now, some of my lifetime, talking about that nonsense. If people can't figure that out, man, just go keep doing it. And you're going to keep getting Eric Gardners and Michael Browns and little Ayanna Jones in Detroit. You're going to keep getting it. The grandmother in Atlanta, you're going to keep getting it. Yeah, just stay separate. That's what Whitey wants. Go ahead. Oh, you Hebrew Israelite. Yeah, you squabbling with the so-and-so. I talked to a brother from Public Enemy. He spoke in Indianapolis. He said, man, how did the lecture go? I said, man, it wasn't that good because the people in the nation, they came out, but then the Orthodox, they didn't come out, and the Orthodox heard that the Hebrew Israelites were coming out, so they were pissed off at them. And then the 5%ers, they squabbled. I said, oh, man, please. You just need to abolish all these damn groups. That's my position. Just take all them group things and throw them in the garbage. Because they have not produced black liberation.
Agreed.
So why still doing? Just look at the list I gave you. Right? Just look at the list and tell me what it's produced. Confusion.
That's it. That's it. Lots and lots of confusion, and that's something I point out all the time. I had a listener. He told me yesterday. He said he was listening to a different radio program, and they were trying to run their radio program in the same way that we run ours, and telling people, we don't do any name calling here, and no cursing. Just having a certain decorum about how we're gonna conduct business. And he said it lasted for about 5 minutes, and then folks called in and got to fussing and cursing out other black people and blah blah blah. And even the thing that I noticed, that all of the fussing and getting mad and everything, it doesn't even get directed at white folks. It's directed at other black people. It's just like, man, come on. Like we gotta figure out something to do better. Like Minister Malcolm even talked about that too. Like he said, when we get together and say, hey, we're not going to come out in public and be fighting and squabbling with other black people. We're not going to do that. Like that doesn't mean we have to agree with every black person. That doesn't mean that we got to be best friends or anything. But when we come out, we are united to deal with these white enemies and deal with them. Like when we come out and decide to do that, white people will know that we're serious. Like when we, come out here, they love it. Want to hear me come out here and talk bad about Dr. King or Roy Wilkins? They love that. But when I come out here and I'm serious, I don't have anything bad to say about another black person. They hate that. They don't want to hear any of that.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but also, on the other side of that these black people got that little whitey in them. Remember I told you about that little whitey? So that's what the argument is. They're coming with that little whitey. And the voice that you hear coming out of them is that little white guy hiding in there. Remember that.
That's a good point. The white traffic cop, that's excellent point. Excellent point.
It's like the ventriloquist. The ventriloquist. You look at the little... You look at the little dummy speaking, you think it's real. You think it's really the dummy, but it's the little white guy, the little agent that's inside of the brother or the sister that's speaking.
Right.
And that's what we have to make know. So remember I said that it's just a matter of time before that little whitey comes out of us. And it's going to come out one of those areas. Psychological, cultural, economic, education. It's going to come out sooner or later because it's in all of us. That's why de-whitenizing is so important. Being able to recognize and then capture and wring the neck of that little whitey that's in us. That's what we have to do.
Absolutely. I totally agree. Absolutely. That yeah, I got you. You had sent me the link. Isabel Wilkerson. She wrote "Warmth of Other Suns," and
say it again. What was it?
Isabel Wilkerson, black female. She wrote "The Warmth of Other Suns." It's about the black migration and kind of the last. Kind of goes from like 1920 or 19 teens through 1970s or so. What black people were doing there, and just real detailed information on where they were moving from, and she follows like three main characters. Right. But she did a talk on Diane Rehm, NPR. She did a talk in May on 60 years since Brown versus Board of Education. I guess it was two talks because they had 1 hour that was about that, where it was a panel and she was on that panel, and then they had another hour that was on the continuing legacy, and I was able to record it. I didn't get the second hour. I got the first hour, but I didn't get the second hour. But once I get that second hour locked down, then I can forward that whole chunk to you. It was like a 2-hour discussion, but she was on the first part of it, and then the people that were on the other one, Dennis Parker, Catherine Lehman, Jesse Register, and David Armour. They were the panel that they had on the second part that was just looking at the 60 years since the Board of Education. But yeah, I had listened to it. I thought that was one where they weren't really being truthful about things. Like the first one I listened to where Isabel Wilkerson was on, I just felt like they weren't really being honest. And since there's a white woman hosting the program, so I expected that. I expected them to not just be able to come out and be truthful about all this. But yeah, I got that. Isabel Wilkerson, she even did
I think it's important. Yeah, I think it's important to listen to these different programs. I like to listen to the vocabulary, and I'm learning new words and where people are coming from. And last night on this guy, I meant to call him again, this Frank Stasio on NPR. All his programs with black people, and I called him and spoke to him about that, deal with blacks in entertainment, sports, music, art, some form of slavery or black pathology. That's all his programs are. So last night he interviewed a brother who's the head of the Black Cultural Center at UNC Chapel Hill and an attorney. And they were very measured in what they were talking about. And a sister dealing with this issue, around the country got on. And she was very, very straightforward. And I didn't get her name or who she represented or whether, I don't know where, what she was, where she was from. But she didn't have any vested interest in anything. So she could say what she wanted to say. And it was easy to pick that up. So you have to see where people are coming from, who's financing them, who's paying them, and that will really tell you what they can and cannot say. But most people are not saying, I think we are scared to tell the truth. Mm-hmm. We're scared to tell the truth. And I'm scared to tell people the truth because I know they're scared. I don't say everything everything I would really like to say. Because, hey, it will scare people. They're already terrorized by the white people. But it's, I don't know, man. I don't know what it's going to take to wake the people up. Maybe this might be a turning point. This event mirrors the incident that triggered the Arab Spring, that was precipitated by the killing of that. I think they got the story. I think they got it incorrect. This guy was, I think he was in college and had to drop out. Couldn't afford it. And then he had this little stand, and the police used to harass him. And I heard that the police beat him and killed him. Then I heard another story that he was so angry with the police that he set himself on fire. And that actually triggered a rebellion there in Tunisia, and it led ultimately to the Arab Spring. up in Egypt. So maybe this situation in St. Louis and New York might have the same influence on the minds of our people, to get them to understand that there is this war being waged against us. Remember, I used to say, we're at war. This was years ago, and I said, no, we're not at war. War is being waged against us. That's different.
That's right.
Because we have not brought any casualties to them, to any great extent. So maybe this is a turning point. We don't know. And I've always said that it's going to take maybe one incident that might turn things around. And maybe this is it. I don't know.
I don't know either. I hope so. Like I said, I'm real pleased about it being so many younger people, seeing all of the younger black people that are involved and like us being serious that this is a problem. What's happening to black people, and feeling like it's their responsibility to try to do something about this. But I just I've said consistently, white people have done a really, really good job in how they have managed everything that's happened since all of this. The way that they've used the media and imaging. They even last week, in the middle of all of this, it was the one I told you where they had the white minister, where he had a sign where it said Black LGBT Lives Matter, and then they had another one. It was last week where they had a black female, and they reported that she had been shoplifting. She shoplifted some groceries because she didn't have any money, and so this white officer, instead of arresting her, he buys her a dozen eggs if she will promise to not shoplift anymore. And they get
that's wonderful. That's wonderful.
They get a big photo of her, and it looks like she's worshiping him. Like she has her head bowed and her arms outstretched, just, I'm so thank you for these eggs. And he's got a big smile on his face. I mean, it's just, they've done a masterful job in how they have coordinated all of this so far. So I don't have high hopes, but
yeah. What did they do at the end of that? They said, brought to you by MGM Pictures.
Exactly. I mean, they have really done it up. The report you were talking about, the one that was on UNC radio, where you said it was a female that you heard, where she sounded like she was giving it a little. She was being a bit more accurate about it. Was that the one where they were talking about police accountability, or was that where they were talking about the hanging?
Yeah. They were talking about. Let's see. I think it was dealing with the hanging in North Carolina. Okay. It might have been a little combination of both, actually. Okay.
I downloaded it.
It's worth it. I don't know if it's worth it to go back and try to get it, but. I didn't listen to the entire program, only like 10 or 15 minutes. So.
Okay. Yeah, I got both of them. I try to go to UNC either every day or every other day, just kind of check, see what they're talking about. I try to check as many news sites as I can to get info. I saw both of those. I just didn't have a chance to listen to them yet, but I downloaded the audio form yesterday, and I'm gonna have to listen. I'm gonna listen to it to see if I can pick out who this is. See if she might be down to come chat on the program.
Well, I tell you, I listened to a couple of programs. Mandari is very, very good. The brother you had on,
yes, sir.
Genocide, the name.
Mm-hmm.
So he's on Runway Radio on Fridays at 10 p.m. I try to listen to him, and then there's a program entitled Connecting the Dots on RunwayRadio.com that comes on from 7 to 9 p.m. And those brothers are super sharp, man. They go into a lot of the biological, chemical assault against black people, and they go back to, they do a lot of history. So I've written to them a number of times, and I have a lot of respect for their programs. So they're very good. Harambe has changed their page. I need to contact that brother. I cannot figure out how to navigate it. The whole thing is just like, I don't know. It's probably easy to navigate. I just can't work it out. But those are the two programs I listen to most of the time.
Okay. Yeah, I'm...
So let me ask you, brother, how do I fit into this whole scheme again? There's something I always ask. How do I fit into what people are saying? Where am I on this scale of correct life-saving information?
I mean, in my opinion, extremely high up on the list in terms of folks. The short number of people, I was just telling somebody the other day, is what I've seen with all of this is a whole lot of people talking about the problem, but most of them are not providing accurate information. They're just, like you were saying, either being afraid or not being allowed to speak honest about it, or thinking they're going to get in trouble with these whites on their job, or get fired, or whatever, or worse, having something done to them. But I just feel like it's tons and tons of black people who talk about the problem, but they just are not accurate. And once you compromise in terms of being accurate about what we're dealing with, everything else just kind of goes out the window. So in my opinion, I feel like you are consistently one of the most just accurate folks in talking about this problem and being honest about what we're dealing with, being honest about what whites are doing to us, and then from there, things that we can be doing to try to counter that and solve this problem permanently. Yeah, I just have great appreciation for that. I think the folks that have heard you on our program and heard you elsewhere on Harambe and down through or heard the YouTube clip when you did your comments after Hurricane Katrina, just really appreciate and have great regard for just being able to be courageous, be honest, and just come out and speak truthfully about what we're dealing with and what whites are doing to us. So I definitely appreciate that. And then the thoroughness, that's something I try and do as well. Like when I talk to you and you say I'm on my assignment and listening and gathering information and having other books and articles and films and different things to solidify what you're saying, just having information there to back what you're saying and to offer suggestions on what can be done about this. That's something that I try to recommend as well, just getting folks to constantly be looking for information, reading, studying, being scientific about how we go about dealing with this problem. So yeah, I definitely appreciate that as well. That's something that I try and apply myself, just getting better and making sure I'm checking, going like that's why I said I go to WUNC myself. I try to go there at least 3 or 4 times a week just to see what they're talking about and other different spots around the world. I have a talk radio program I try and check out in South Africa. Try and check that out at least once a week just to hear what people are talking about. And a lot of times they'll be talking about racism. So, can hear that and then just other things that they bring up. Reading different newspapers, try and check out different papers from around the country, around the world, just to see what's happening, to be informed. That's something I really appreciate. I try and take that to heart as well. So, yeah, very high on the list in my opinion. It's just not very many people at all that just have that courage or ability to just be accurate and comprehensive about what we're dealing with and how we can go about trying to solve this problem.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that my conclusion is several that I think we need to bring this to an end, one way or another. And, we need a once and for all solution to this biggest problem on planet Earth. And it should not be a secret. Malcolm said in one of his lectures, stop sweet-talking white people.
Amen.
Tell them how you feel. But, of course, many people can't do that because they got that whitey that's inside of them that suppresses the reality of what we're dealing with. So as I talk about my own history, not being, very conscious, but always being serious, as an athlete, if you're competing, you have to be serious. If you're not serious as an athlete, you're gonna lose.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that the opponents are serious. I have a friend, we were on the same team, and it wasn't until years later, he said he was working out with weights. I said, man, you were working out with weights? How come you didn't tell us? I didn't even know about weightlifting. It wasn't anything serious he was doing. He was just doing light weights. I said, man, this guy's getting big. What's he doing? I found out he's lifting weights. So he understood that in order to be competitive, he had to have an edge. Mm-hmm. So that's what I bring. I bring winning to this war. And I have a piece that I wrote about winners and losers. I don't know if you ever saw that. I don't know where it's in one of my books. I think it's on, I don't know if it's on my website. But what it takes to win. And I remember Muhammad Ali, he lost to Joe Frazier for the heavyweight championship. Now, do you think that after losing to Joe Frazier, that Muhammad Ali went back and did the same thing?
Not at all. Not at all.
He got the message that if I did this and it caused me to lose, I have to change my program. So we keep doing, again, the same thing. We got to change our program. If we don't change the program, we're going to keep getting L's or lose. People say, yeah, man, I got an L. Yeah, loss. So in my own development, when I found out 40 years ago, this past spring, that white people want to kill us, I can't honeycoat that. That's the conclusion I came to. Others obviously have not come to that conclusion. That's the conclusion I came to. And it wasn't until I started reading and studying and cutting out articles and listening to different lectures that I was able to break it down as to how it was going to happen. And in fact, how it was happening. And that's why I came up with the different cells, SELVES. Oh, they're coming at all the different cells. They're coming at us all these different ways. They're coming at us psychologically, culturally, economically, educational, health, through biological, chemical warfare, through the food. They're coming at us through religion, through the social stratification, and they're coming at us through political. I got all this broken down in my paradigm. So I give myself credit. I listened to Dr. Ben. It's a wonderful presentation. It's 3 hours. You go to Gil Noble interviews Van Sertima, Dr. Ben, and Dr. Clark. And Dr. Ben, man, I love that brother. He says he grew up in, I don't know if it was Puerto Rico, but he said, man, I was so brainwashed when World War II came along. He said, I was so stupid, I volunteered. They didn't have to call me. I volunteered for it. And then he goes on to say, when he used to watch TV, this old cowboy Tom Mix, and somebody else, he said, he was sitting there yelling at the TV, telling the white guy, oh, there's the savage, kill him, kill him. He said until he understood what was going on. I used to watch Tarzan. He said, look out, Tarzan, there's a savage. Get that savage. Until he was able to raise his understanding and his consciousness. Then that's what I mean about this shift in perspective. Take a different look at something. Look at it from a different angle. So I give myself a lot of credit now. This is the first time I'm saying this. I never said this. I'm giving myself credit for my own development. To go from where I was to this point where I came to understand, oh, this is how the war is being waged against us through all these different dimensions. And I think that this is what we have to do. And that's why I created the paradigm, that this is what the Africans need to do psychologically. This is what we need to do culturally, economically, educationally. This is what we need to do in health. We need to change from religion to spirituality, but spirituality that's relevant for our liberation, not rituals without reason, not rituals without results. And I heard this sister last night. You might want to go and listen. If you can navigate Harambe Radio, I think it was on 9 o'clock. It was a super sharp husband and wife team out of the Virgin Islands. They were interviewing a sister and I think her husband who was in Sierra Leone during the height of this pandemic with Ebola. And the sister said that there was an MD, a brother who died, but he was basically dead when they brought him here, and they sent the wife a $20,000 or $200,000 bill for shipping the body back. But anyway, the sister said a very important point. She said we need help in our effort to get food and medical supplies to the Africans. She said we need help now, not tomorrow. We need it here and we need it now. Going back to spirituality. We need it now, not tomorrow. So the other area is political. And under political, Marcus Garvey said, everything we do is political. Everything they do on this paradigm politically is war. And this is why I could not go back to the college classroom, because no matter what I would teach, it would be the war against African people in all these different areas. I had a brother come in yesterday, sitting here, the door opens up. He said, man, you got a hanger? And then, I usually carry emergency stuff. He said, man, I locked my keys in my car, I need a hanger. So I went to my car. I had a wire. And I said, man, I know I had a hanger in here. And it was taken out. We had to put some stuff in, so I didn't have a hanger. So what's the first thing I did when I went home?
Got a hanger.
I got a hanger and put it in my trunk. But he asked me, when we were going outside, he said, he saw I had on this nice African top. It's a T-shirt. He said, what denomination are you? And I said, I don't talk about that. But, my real response is that my response should be, first of all, that's personal. I don't know you like that. You shouldn't be asking me a question like that. Yeah, but my answer is, my denomination is Black Liberation. That's my denomination. What's my psychology? I've said this. So I don't know if I've said it on cows. My psychology is Black Liberation. My culture is Black Liberation. My economics is Black Liberation. My education is Black Liberation. My health process is Black Liberation. My spiritual system is Black Liberation. My social system is Black Liberation. My political situation, position is Black Liberation. Total African liberation from under white terror, domination, and deceit. Because white terror, domination, and deceit lead to destruction and death of African people. I can't make it clearer than that. But my development, that's what I have come to. Now, I might not be at this same spot next year because I'm ever evolving. So if somebody brings me something different, that can supersede that, I'll go with that. But one of my pillars, PILLARS, Black Liberation, is Black Liberation. It supersedes, it nullifies, and it trumps anything and everything else any African can think of, say, or do. So Black Liberation, it eclipses, it nullifies, it supersedes, and it trumps anything anybody could bring to me on this planet. Because everything we think, say, and do should relate to our liberation. What's complicated about that? Or whatever we do, since we are in a position where we don't own or control the things that we need, we do and invest the very minimum in this system. We give it as little energy or currency as possible. Because, as I said earlier, they will take the profits and use the profits to perpetuate their assault against African people. So that's why I have engaged seriously, no joke, in a 40-year boycott against white stuff. I don't buy anything, and if I buy it, it's the cheapest. I got a good piece online entitled The Cheapest Stuff. It's a little short thing that's, I think, in a bookstore in a BB Casa. Everybody should read that. And I got one called the Black-Owned Toilet Paper Company. Everybody should read these pieces. People are calling me now about stuff I wrote 25 years ago. I have one of my former students. He's 54 years old. He called me last week, about a week and a half ago, and he said, what you told me 30 years ago was true then and it's true now. I said, hey, I know it's true, because I studied this. I mentioned the story about this brother in my class. I forgot where he said he was from. He might be from Sierra Leone. He was in my test and measurements class. I mentioned this to you before. I don't want to be repetitive.
I don't believe so.
Okay, he was in my class, and I'm teaching statistics. And I could see his disdain for my class. It was apparent. So in my class, I'm showing videos about testing and how testing is a fraud. And actually, Dan Rather, when he was at CBS, did a piece called, I think it's the myth of IQ. The myth of IQ. So, I don't know if I was showing that, but I'm dealing with the IQ and homogeneous grouping, heterogeneous grouping. So I'm showing videos, and I'm not telling students, what's going on, but hopefully I can lead them to the conclusion that testing in the U.S., intelligence testing, is a fraud. And I'm bringing in news articles. I'm bringing in books that are outside the bookstore books. And I'm running all this stuff on the students. We had a class of about 30 students. So he showed his displeasure. He goes and he takes the test. It was the NTE at the time, National Teachers Exam. He goes and he takes the test. No longer, this nationwide test. And one day, months later, I'm standing at the desk. And you can come into the classroom two ways. You come off the elevator, and when you come in, you're coming, if I'm facing the class, he's coming to my right. The other door, coming to the left. So he comes into my right. Everybody's sitting in the class. He comes and he stands to my right just like in almost the front of the desk. He says, Dr. Kambon, I got the results of my test, my NTE. He said, I scored the highest. Now, I don't remember whether it was in the state or whether it's the highest in the history of the school. He said, I scored the highest on this exam. He paused. He said, everything you taught us was on that test. And I can give you his name and number. It might be on my website, because we did a little interview with him. I had somebody interview him. And he said everything was on that test. So I didn't say anything. But I was pissed off at him. Because if you come into my office, I had a little office there, the education department. I got all these videos, stacks of videos. I got tons of news articles, all these books in my office. So I'm looking at this guy, this brother. I'm saying, this guy must think I'm a clown. I'm a joke. I don't know what I'm talking about. Because when I went to the college, I had more experience in the community working in education programs than anybody on that campus, including the president. So this shows you, in part, that this student, this brother called me from Atlanta. He said, "Yeah, students used to say, oh, Dr. Kambon, he's way out, that." Yeah, now they're calling me. Remember when you were telling me about this? I said, yeah, I remember it. Sure, I remember it. Because I'm not a joke. I'm not playing with this. I'm studying. I'm reading. Y'all used to dealing with people who are mediocre, who are skating, who just getting along. These professors getting a paycheck. I'm bringing you information that you can use as a parent, not just as a student, but as a parent who's going to be raising children. So I went into this whole thing about television and the images. I went through health. I went through reading and how to read for critical analysis and content. I'm one of the only professors that asked students, well, what do you think? I had a student over at the university say, wow, I'm a junior. Nobody ever asked me what I thought. Yeah, you just come in and write. No, what do you think? Start thinking. Start asking questions. Don't let anybody who has a title, a big title or money, intimidate you. You see who this person is. What is this person's essence? So if they come and they have this inflated view of themselves, don't deal with them. They're full of crap. So I had another student in my educational psychology class. She failed the class at least twice. She was really trifling. So somehow, through a miracle, she gets to be a second semester senior, going out, preparing to go to student teach. I'm looking at her, how did you get this far? So she's sitting there. We have a faculty review, where she comes in, prospective student teachers come in, and the faculty, we ask them questions. They have to do a lesson plan. So, she's doing all this. So I said to her, well, how are you going to perform when you go into the field? Oh, I'm going to do this. I'm going to just do a great job. I said, but you didn't do a great job in my class. Why is that? I said, oh, I know why you're going to do well. Because you're going to be working with white people. And you don't believe that black people are worthy of you working hard and doing what you're supposed to do and being responsible. But when you get with the white people, you're going to do that. So everybody, yeah. Yeah, that's my statement to her. I said, so I'm not supporting you going out. So this is a whole thing about this mentality that our people have. It's a death mentality. I'm getting ready to put this piece up. We love death. And anything that comes dealing with life, say he eat live food. Live food? You ask people, yeah, eat some live food. Live food? No, I want some pig. You love death. So you ask them about life, man, living in the green zone. They ain't trying to hear it. So you love death, you get death. That's what you get. You love death, you get death. And you got people out here, you got smart people out here that's telling us what to do. We don't want to hear it, man. I got a bookstore. We had this bookstore, man. We put our own money into this store. A lot of money. Got the books. We had to put the money out up front because we didn't know the distributors. They didn't know us. We were in here 3 months. My wife, I'm talking about us, my wife and me. Late at night, 2 o'clock in the morning, man, renovating this building in the cold. We took a trip to Atlanta to get this slat wall. In my old van, 67 Dodge step van. Drove down there, no heat in the van. January 1st, 1994. Went down there, got the slat wall, drove back, all in one day. She and I did this. Painted the walls. We had one brother that helped us put up this long wall. Another brother came and helped us. Other than that, it was just the two of us. Getting home at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. We were both working. She might have been in school. Get up 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, cut out and go to work. We did this for 3 months, man. So you think, and then we got a bookstore. Nice store. People came from around the country. Brother came from L.A. He said, man, this is one of the nicest stores I've been in. He said, because it's replete with the range of information. It's not just focused on one thing. We got family development. We got education. We got children's books. We got books on religion, spirituality, women's literature. No novels, no urban crap. None of that. Health products. Went out our way to get not health products. Deodorant, that's aluminum free. Toothpaste, fluoride free. Soap, no chemicals. Videos, all those things. African clothes. Okay, but what happened? Well, the college professors, they don't want to come to the store. Why? I don't know. The people from the churches, Christians, they don't want to come to the store. Why? I don't know. People in the fraternities and sororities, they don't want to come to the store. Why? I don't know. Nation of Islam, they don't want to come. Why? I don't know. Orthodox Islam, they don't come to the store. Well, why not? I don't know. Who comes to the store? Regular people. Regular people. So now they see that what we try to represent in terms of giving them complete knowledge in all the areas. Come in, I'm not pushing anything on anybody. I'm not pushing any ideology, no philosophy. A good book is here. Dr. Clark, Amos Wilson, Jill Nelson, that's the sister you should interview. If I remember correctly, she's super sharp. Her book is Voluntary Slavery, I think it is. She used to write for the Washington Post. Volunteer slavery. So all these books, children's books, beautiful books, nice messages, colorful, will enhance the self-esteem of children. Nice messages. Work. Respect your family. Beautiful books. All those companies the books went out of print. Why? The parents didn't buy the books. Parents didn't come in. So what do you expect? The children are rebelling because the children are caught in a vortex of ignorance. These are the people that we're dealing with. This is the reality that we're dealing with. Colleges, universities, fraternities, sororities, whatever. they're not trying to learn anything. And I'm on this thing. People don't like it. And I say that anytime black people get together, you got to be talking about something relevant. Don't be coming together in a church, listening to one person talk, and 300 people leave. You mean to tell me all the 300 people in there, nobody has information that can benefit other people? Somebody is a doctor. Somebody has a problem that can, in education with their child, that could be resolved by somebody else in that congregation that has the information. Somebody is a plumber or electrician. Somebody had this problem, they got it resolved, that can share it with somebody else who now has that problem. You mean tell me all of us getting together and we're not talking about anything? Hey man, that's death. I don't care what they're doing. Y'all better sit down in a circle, pull them chairs together, and just let's lay this out. Say, oh, I got a problem with my teeth. What can I do? I don't want to go and get a root canal. Well, if you got time, do oil pulling. Do what? Do oil pulling. Go and get some sesame oil, organic sesame oil, and every morning when you wake up, put a tablespoon of organic sesame oil in your mouth, swish it around for 20 minutes, for 20 to 30 days, and you'll see a difference in your teeth in terms of getting rid of the bacteria, the underlying bacteria that will cause gingivitis and these other issues. Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah, well, that's why we're in the circle, because you didn't know it, and I know it. I said, man, I got a problem. This toilet, it keeps running and running, or it won't fill up. What's the problem? So, you know, there's a little chain that got stuck down in that flap. Just pull that chain out, and then that flap will close firmly, and it'll fill up. So I go and I do that. Wow, you were right. I mean, all these little things that can benefit people. I said, man, I got an allergy. I got a bad allergy. Oh, you got a bad allergy, you can get the neti pot. Or better yet, just get some sea salt, put it in that little ball that they use to clean out a baby's nose, and then just run that sea salt and clean your nostrils out of the debris. You don't have to go to a doctor. But you got an ear infection, your ears are stopped up, why don't you take a little drop of peroxide and drop it in your ear, and that'll break up all that wax buildup. You see, all these little things that could come out in a circle, because we don't get together and talk about things that are relevant, that are helpful, practical, and beneficial. So, hey, I'm way out. I said, no, I'm not way out. You all are way out. I'm in. Y'all are out.
Man, I completely agree. I completely agree with all of the problems and everything that we got. Like, that should be our main time activity. Like, getting together for things that would help us solve our problems, help us improve things. Like, that should be like full-time activity. Just with everything. Even Mr. Fuller, he was saying, like, people being all riled up about the police right now. Like, there's tons of books that are already out on that, like what to do. You had it in your book, where you had the sheet about get it notarized, that, you know, I do not have any drugs or contraband or blah, blah, blah. Just have that with you when you travel. Like, it's tons of information that's already out on that. We should already have that. Like that, you know, people are going to be going to church or whatever else they do in their free time. You could be doing that. You know, every child, bam, this is all the information that you need. This is what you can do to keep yourself safe when you go out. Just sharing practical information that would help us solve some of our problems. That should be like full-time activity for us. All the time activity, really.
And we know that, if you look at my paradigm, you know that there's war against us in education, against children. So I have a template, a parent template on my, I don't think it's on my site, it might be in a bookstore. It's for sale. This might be like a page and maybe 2 pages. And it is a general letter to the school if a parent is having a problem with the teacher or the administration of a school. Now, we got all these hundreds of people in education. Nobody ever did this. So I got this template. My daughter, so-and-so, here at so-and-so school, you fill in the blank. Under the teacher, so-and-so, you put the teacher's name in there. And as a parent, I met with the principal, the name of the principal, the guidance counselor, the social worker, this and that. You got all the names filled in. And you all met and you said that my child is a candidate for special ed. However, I went to Dr. Kambon, or I went to Dr. Welsing, and we had the child tested like the brother, Autumn Ashante's father, had his daughter tested. When he went into court, he had all the information to back him up. So this letter, I went to Dr. Welsing, and Dr. Welsing, we did an evaluation, and my daughter is just a late bloomer, and et cetera. So it's comprehensive. Then you get that filled out, and you send it to those demons by certified mail, return receipt requested. You say, I want this in my child's permanent record. What you do, you stop all that madness with them. You stop it, it'll stop, believe me. And to be really hip about it, in the beginning of school. So this is a circle, right? We sitting with all these parents, beginning of school year, you go, you meet with the teacher, you come back, even though the teacher's nice, she's a friend of me, right? Friend of me. She pretends to be friend, but she's an enemy. You got to look at her like the enemy. Come back and say, Miss Heather, I met with you, and my daughter's in your class, but I suspect that you're a white supremacist and that you're out to get my child. You do this after the first week. You send that by certified letter to the principal, say, I want this in my child's permanent record. Now, do you think that teacher's going to mess with that child?
Wow.
Think what I'm saying. This is called, I did this in, this is called preemption. See, we're not down with preemption. I talked about this, and I really need to let you listen to this eulogy I did. I have to see. But this is preemption. You get them before they get you. So now you have that letter in the child's folder. Do you think that teacher, because now if she messes with you, now it looks like this is retaliation. So she's going to be really nice to your child.
Wow. I dig that. Wow. Dr. Joy DeGrew, she did post-traumatic slave syndrome. We had her on the program Sunday. We did mental health, where we had Dr. Robinson on. She's with the St. Louis Association of Black Psychologists. But Dr. DeGrew, she was saying it sounded similar, where she said, if you got to send your child to these, schools where they got these white teachers and everything, she said, you go up there that first week or first month, whatever, as soon as school starts up, go up there and have your documentation. Bam! They've done all these studies where these white teachers, where they have bias against black students, where they are disciplined at much higher rates and suspended and just don't get the same quality of education. What plans do you all have in place to make sure that my child is going to get the best educational services that you all have to offer, and to make sure that race does not become a factor in my child's education at all? And to get them to spell it out like exactly. She said, bam, you can show the folder. If they want to bring the principal in or a superintendent, anybody else, bam, have a copy for everybody. Bam, bam, bam. It's the research and just give it out. Like, man, I think that is exactly what folks, if you don't have any alternatives, and you can't do homeschooling or independent or whatever, if you got to do that, like that is a plus. That's exactly what should be doing. I like having that letter in the permanent folder as well. Like, I already have suspicions that this could happen, and I want to just have that already on record, that I think that this could potentially be a problem. And this is something that I want to monitor on a regular basis, whether we're having weekly or monthly or bi-weekly meetings to monitor what's happening with my child. And I'll be checking in with my child on a daily basis to make sure that, that is, and then if everybody, you could coordinate with all the other black parents that in that child's life, make everybody right there be doing that, man.
Right, this would come out in that gathering. Something like this would come out. Parents say, oh, gee, I never thought about that. Well, I don't know. I can't write very well. All you got to do is go and get the template. All you got to do is just fill it out. You don't have to construct it. It's already constructed for you. See? The same thing on the job. You're on the job, my expression is, if you're a brother on the job, you're just preparing for your next job.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You're on the job, everything is cool, no problems. Start going to the doctor. Say, doctor, I don't know, man. I'm getting a funny feeling about this job, and I don't know. I feel like they're not treating me right. Give me a prescription for a sedative, so I can sleep. I'm not sleeping at night. You give you a prescription. Then you go to a psychologist. You do this a couple of times. What you're doing, you're building a track record because you know what's coming from there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it comes, you say, see, I knew it, and that's why I've been going to the doctor. Now you got a case because you compiled all this evidence against me. There's a lot of stuff that could come out, man. A lot of stuff.
I dig it. That is excellent advice. Like, man, that one and the letter one, I tell people that all the time too. Like for job, that's something simple that you can help out other black people on the job. Like, just write a letter. This person gave excellent service and was super helpful, and boom, boom, boom. That way they can have that in their personal folder. So when they come to get a review, bam, they have a glowing review where, this person, somebody thought that they did an excellent job, which is super helpful and courteous and all that. Just writing a letter to do that. Like, I recommend, I think you talked about it on the program, but I've recommended that several times for folks. That's something easy that you could do to help out a random black person on their job. It might keep them from getting fired or help them get a promotion, get a few extra nickels on their job. But yeah, that outstanding. Just go ahead and set that up in advance when you go meet with the psychologist, therapist, or whatever, and just let them know, it's stressful, and particularly now, because I have been hearing that from a lot of people saying that since, everything that's been going on, that they've been having more white people have been talking about all this on the job and either making their little tacky comments and what have you about everything, or trying to provoke them to get them to talk about all this, and to get some sort of discussion so the black person can get mad and be huffing and puffing and all that. Like, that would be a great time. Just saying, yeah, I'm feeling stressed. They keep bringing all this up on the job, and trying to have these tense discussions, and it's making me uncomfortable, and it's just creating a really toxic environment. Just have all that documented. Like, that is superb preemptive measure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of things we can do, man, but we got to discuss these things. People are not really laying this out. So a lot of this, I got a lot of this in all my books, different articles, websites. It's just, hey, I thought a couple of weeks ago, man, what else can I do? I got like 16, 17 books. I got this young guy that called me, young brother called me, I think it was last week, 26 years old, engineering. And, man, I just discovered you. He said, I revere you. I heard you. I said, hold up. I said, we don't revere anybody. I said it before, we don't have any all-stars. And we won't have any all-stars until we get our liberation. So you just hold that in check. Yeah, you can listen to me. And I tell everybody, if you got something better, bring it to me. I'll cross mine out. I'll put yours in. This is what development is. I'm not stuck on stuff. So if you got a better concept, a fundamentally better concept, let's bring that, let's add that, and we're going to refine this to the highest level. And this is just another rung in the ladder to our liberation. So I'm not stuck on, on the first rung. I thought about this, and I'm staying with this. Yeah. No, man, hey, drop that. It's not, it didn't work. We're not free, so it means it didn't work.
Right.
That's our gold standard. You hear me, sir? Yeah, I've said it before. What's our end game? Our end game is liberation. Nothing else. That's how I see it.
I agree. I totally agree. I say that all the time. People, I cannot stand it. People get all caught up in talking about quote unquote progress that we made, and I'm just like, that is a total waste of time. Like, as long as this has been going on, everything should be about, is the problem solved? Yes or no? Like, that's it. Like, I'm not interested in, it was 5,000 black people that got shot and killed by the police last year, and it's 2,000 this year. So we have made I mean, that's absurd. Like, either the problem is solved or it's not. Period.
Well, one of the main problems on that side is, this white welfare. They don't have anything to do with these. They don't have anywhere to put these people. They send them into service, and they're savages. They come back. What are we going to do with them? You got to put them on the police force. We taught them how to kill. Put them on the police. Police, FBI. We got all kind of military. Put them in one of our military alliances. Secret Service, FBI, Homeland. Hey, put them in one of them. They don't have anything to do with the white male. They say, the black male is in danger. Hey, the white male, they don't have nothing to do. They don't have anything for them. They don't produce anything. So where are they going to put them? Hey, put them in the black community.
I agree. I totally agree. They said that with Darren Wilson too. He had worked at some police department before he got to Ferguson. They got shut down because it was so corrupt and racist that they just closed it down. And so then he got transferred. Mr. Fuller says that all the time, that whites, they don't get fired. They get transferred. They just pack them up and ship them all someplace else so they can just keep doing the same thing. White welfare. Exactly. You laid it out many times before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, okay, brother. I want to get this little work done. Get it out on my site. If you get a chance, if you get anything that you think is, I'm sure all your programs are very significant, but just, you can send me a link to them. And I'd like to listen to what people have to say. And do you have a way to contact you? By phone or still by email?
Email is best. I'm on my Skype right now, so people can't call me, but I can always ring. So if you email me, I'll get you the recording from this. So you'll have my email address again, just to make sure, and then just drop me a line, and I can give you a ring at any time if you need to get in touch. But yeah, Dr. Wells, and she was just with us a few days back. I thought that was pretty interesting hearing some of her thoughts on all this and some of the things. I'll make sure to include that. And I'll kind of go back over and see if there's anything else that stands out that I think you might want to check out to be relevant. I'll ship that as well. But yeah, I'll get this, and then it'll take me an hour to get the recording, just because I can't download it, so I have to listen to it. But once I get that other recording from the Diane Rehm show, where they were doing the 60-year anniversary of Brown versus Board of Education, I'll have both of those together. But I'll just make sure I get your email, and I'll send it to your son as well, so he'll have the MP3 of this, and then once I get the other one actually recorded, I'll send both of those along as well.
Okay, good. Okay, all right, brother. Is there anything else that I didn't say that I should have said?
Let's see. I know I had specific things I wanted to ask about the folks squabbling. What's going on? Got the WNC. can't think of anything right now. If I forgot something, I'll just include that in the email if I forgot. I can't think of anything off top right now that I forgot that I wanted to make sure I asked you about. Yeah, I can't think of anything else right now.
There was, I don't know if you can get it, but I taped an interview that Gary Null did about a year and a half ago. Interviewed 2 young Israeli soldiers that came to the U.S. They were 20, 21 years old. And they talked in this discussion with Gary Null on WBAI about what the Israelis do to keep the Palestinians in check. And he said one of the things they do is randomly the Israeli soldiers would go to an area late at night and randomly kick in a door and rouse the parents and the family, get them to, on their knees, hands behind their heads, and say, they suspect them of being against the Israelis, et cetera, And he said, but these soldiers had no evidence of that. This was all done at random. And then they would go to another house. So they might go to 2 or 3 houses in the same area in one night. And the purpose of this was to keep the people terrorized. Another situation they created was that the Israelis passed a law saying it was against the law to throw rocks or anything at a police vehicle. And so what they did, the Israelis would set soldiers up around schools, put them on different roofs as snipers. They would know that the children are coming out of school. They would intentionally have a police car ride by slowly, which would provoke the children into throwing rocks at the police car. And the snipers would shoot and kill these children. The whole emphasis was to keep the people on their heels and vigilant and terrorized.
Mm.
If you could get that interview, I got it on audio tape somewhere, and I can't put my hands on it, but it was a very, very good interview. The parallels between that and here are just enormous. And one of the other things that came out of that discussion was that these soldiers said the Israelis are not trying to come to an accord or an agreement. And they want to keep this thing going because, of course, they are literally exterminating the Palestinians. But the point I'm really emphasizing is that they do this intermittent terrorizing of the communities, of the Palestinian communities, to keep people always on edge. Now, one of the things that has not come out of all these discussions that I know of is that when people get angry, it raises the cortisol level.
Mm.
And the other is hormones. But the cortisol is one of like three hormones. And what it does, when it's raised, over time, it affects the tissues of the heart. It destroys the heart tissues. So this thing about being angry, we have to figure out how to put it in check without, exploding. And there was some research that said that when you have an outburst of anger, if that anger stays with you for a period of time, I don't remember exactly how long, but it's like, this thing is with you, and it's in you, and it is very deleterious, and leads to the internal destruction of the organs. So this is a war against us that we're not really talking about. Dealing with this anger.
Wow. That exactly what you just said. I mean, literally everything that you just said that came out on the Sunday program. I told you we just did the Black mental health thing. Dr. Robinson with the Black psychologist in St. Louis. That's exactly what she said. She said that this is not. She said this is not psychological trauma. This is psychological torture. And everything that you said the Israeli soldiers were doing, she said that's what they were doing to the black people that were protesting in Ferguson. That's what she called. She said this is psychological torture, what they're doing to them. And then Dr. DeGrew, when she came on, she said that exactly about raising the cortisol levels and how that has such a deleterious impact on the health of black people and the long-term health ramifications of that, and how that just destroys your body. And Dr. Niana Rasayan, he's a behavioral neuroscientist. He's in the DC area. He wasn't a guest, but he participated in it. He has been a guest on that program before. He writes and the whole nine, but he commented and added to that just about the health impact of being frustrated and angry and depressed about all this and the impact that has on your health. Like, they touched on all of that on the Sunday program we did on Black mental health. But yeah, I totally, and it's by design. I think that was something that one of the callers was trying to emphasize as well. All of that is being done by design. That, as you said consistently, these whites, they are methodical scientific terrorists. They know how all of this impacts you. They know the long-term ramifications of how this impacts your health and the strain it puts on your heart and everything. They know that they're doing this deliberately to us, just to traumatize everyone. But that, I was really glad that all of that stuff came out in the Sunday program that we were talking about.
Oh, wonderful. So I'm kind of on it then, huh?
Absolutely. As usual.
Yeah, very good. Okay, my good friend. What else can I say?
Black liberation trumps everything, as usual.
Yeah, black liberation gets us from under white terror, domination, and defeat.
Absolutely.
That's what I have to say. Okay, yeah, I appreciate you sending this to my son, and the other ones you can send to me. That would be great.
I will do that. Pulling my email up right now. I'll send it to both of you all, and then if I can track down the Gary Null interview, I'll send that as well. If I can track that down, and I'll just include that with some of the programs if you want to check them out that we've done. If you want to check those out as well.
All right. Now, do you have a link to your program? When does your program air?
The set days that we have, Friday and Saturdays, those are set days that we broadcast in the evening. I guess for you it would be 8 o'clock your time, and then the rest of the time it just depends on the day that we can get the guest in on the program. We normally do between 16 and 20 programs a month. But Friday and Saturday, those are just the only two set days that we're on every week. Regardless, we're on Friday and Saturday, and the rest of the time it just varies. But yeah, I'll include the link for us so you can see where we're at, and it should have the archives up so you can see who's been on the program, what we were talking about, and all that information should be there.
Okay. Have you ever had Sherilyn Ifill on your program?
No, sir. Sure.
Okay. Yeah, do you know her, Sherilyn Ifill? She was a professor of law at University of Maryland. I understand now she's the legal counsel for NAACP, and she has a book, something about justice on the courthouse steps, but she is a super sharp sister, man. Super sharp. I think it's Sherilyn. I know her last name is Ifill. I've heard her a number of times, but you can get her. I don't know if she would be limited in what she can say, but she's very smart.
Oh, okay. I found her page at the University of Maryland. She has her contact information, so I'll drop her an email, see if she'd be down to come and chat with us. I'm trying to see what book she's written. Oh yeah, I see it on the courthouse lawn, confronting the legacy of lynching in the 21st century.
Yeah, that's it. Right on the courthouse lawn. Yeah, I really admire that sister, man. She's brilliant.
Wow. I'm going to see if I can get the book. Yeah, because that was pretty recent. I'm going to see if I can get this book, and then if we can get on the program, I'll definitely let you know. I tried folks that you recommend. I try and make sure we can get them if they're down to come speak with us.
Okay, great. And ask your 3 million listeners to send a contribution to my site. It would help enormously. I know you're not getting many contributions, are you?
We have not hit the $1 million mark. Not even close. Yeah. Not even close. But go ahead.
Well, once the Africans give up the potato chips, the French fries, the cable TVs, the SUVs, the DVDs, we'll be able to get these contributions rolling in. And what better time now than as a result of all the work that we have been doing over the years.
Amen.
What better people to support?
Amen.
People that have been yelling, what do I call it? We don't want people to ignore my rant. We want people to be ignorant or ignore my rant. So, what better people to support?
Amen.
Yeah.
I totally agree. I mentioned the website KamauKambon.org. I mentioned the website on the program. Like I said, still play that sound clip of black people being very serious about not being serious, and encourage folks to support and get the books or send you a contribution or whatever they can do to support. But I will continue to do so. Let folks know to support what you've been doing, man, and trying to help us solve this problem.
All right. Now, can your program be heard by telephone, or it has to be internet?
Either or. Some people they listen online, just because they're with their computer or what have you. But you can listen on the phone. We have it on TuneIn because some people have that in their vehicle where they can pick up different radio programs that are online. So you can pick it up there. But whichever way people want to listen to it, you can listen on the phone. You can listen online. It's got the number on the website for people to dial in. And then it's got the link there as well, so that people can listen live online. But whichever is convenient. Okay, so on a regular phone, you can dial a number and listen, or yes. It has to be internet. Regular phone. You just I didn't know that. Okay, send me the number. Yes, sir. I'll make sure it's in big bold letters. You just dial it in and put the code in, and you should be able to hear us live anytime that we're on the air. Wonderful. I got a good friend, man. He's searching. He's in New Mexico. I'll let him know as well. Yeah, tell them. Anybody, if they got a phone or if they computer, either or, they can tune in. They can listen live, and obviously, if they're on the phone, they can get their question in, or if they got something that they want to add, they can do that too. But if they're listening online, at least they can chime in, or they can email me if they're listening online and they got a question or something that they want to ask. But yeah, either or. I'll make sure to include the number and the link, so if you want to pass it on, if you want to listen yourself. Okay, that's good. That's great. All right, brother. I'm trying to, I thought about dropping out of all of this, but I guess I can't. I'm too deep into it. It's needed, man. It's needed. I do know the feeling, but yeah, it's needed. It's sorely needed. Yeah. Okay, we'll keep up the good work, man. I appreciate speaking with you, and I'm glad you had an opportunity for us to speak for this short time. Absolutely. The pleasure was mine. I appreciate the information, and always appreciate being able to chat with you to get some research and be inspired, get some ideas that I can share with other folks on how to go about solving this problem. Okay, if you get a chance, you can go to my website, and you might, I think there's a little spot to put commentary or narrative about, any of the work that I'm doing. That would be great if you can do that. I will do that. I can leave a comment. I've read several of your books at this point, so absolutely, I will leave you a comment. Okay, good. Everything helps, and I like to, have people from around the country make comments, so it just gives a wide range of
feedback that others can benefit from.
Understood. I will leave a comment. I'll tell some of the folks that listen too that go leave a comment as well. That way we can see if we can get some give some more feedback for other folks who have benefited from your material.
Okay, that's great. Okay, all right, brother. Thank you so much for calling, and take good care of yourself. How's your health, by the way?
Don't have any complaints. Hopefully, nothing, no aches, no pains. Haven't been sick. Been trying to get some broccoli and some good green veggies in, but I have been fortunate. I haven't got any of the colds or flu or any of that other stuff folks have been suffering from. I'm just trying to make sure that I get rest. That's the thing I'm focusing on right now, just making sure that I get good rest on a consistent basis. But yeah, I have been nothing to complain about health-wise, thank goodness.
Good. Okay, very, very good, man. There's a wonderful tape out, brother. It's called Urban Kryptonite. Man, that's one of the best tapes I've seen. This brother named Cochise put it together. I do not have his number, but if you look online, I'm sure it will come. He's got a trailer, he said. But I have the complete video. It's about 3 hours, almost 3 hours, I think, and it's really, really well done. It's similar to Hidden Colors, that format. But it is really very good. I can't wait to hear from the brother so I can talk with him about it.
Wow. Okay, I hadn't even heard of that. I'll have to check that out. Urban Kryptonite. I'll look for that once I get stuff mailed off and everything. I'll look for it, see if I can find out who did this.
Good. Yeah, and I referred him to a number of groups and people that I know who might be able to use this as a fundraiser for themselves, for their organizations. And I'm not with groups, but I support some of the principles of some of these groups. So I referred him to them, and he was so enamored with the number of people I referred him to that he sent me the tape. But I was thinking, I don't know if you do that, but if you can get with the brother, you might be able to use that as a fundraiser for cows.
Wow. That's a great idea. I have to check it out and see if he would be down. I'll contact him to see. I don't know if he knows about us or if he would be interested in chatting it up, but I will definitely bring that up to him if we can, help him push his film. If that's something that would benefit everybody. Yeah, if I can track him down and get some contact information on him, I'll definitely do that to see if he would be down.
Okay. Good. Okay, all right, brother. Well, you got a lot of work to do.
Amen. That's what I came. I'm glad. I wanted to talk to you early because I'm on the West Coast, so it's still only about 1:30 here. So, I still got most of the day to crank on it and get stuff done. So that's what I'll be doing with my Thursday.
Yeah. And one last thing before I forget. Listen to Dr. Amos Wilson. I think it's The Psychology of Cooperative Economics. Dr. Amos Wilson.
Psychology of
Cooperative Economics.
Cooperative Economics. Okay. Got it. I will check it out. I'm on YouTube right now, so I'll be able to punch it in and get that up as well. But I got it. Psychology of Cooperative Economics.
Right. And he also has The Falsification of African Consciousness. Everything he does is wonderful. So, okay, all right, brother. Let me see if I can catch up with some of this work before I leave for the day.
Right on. Definitely appreciate everything. The information. Just be on the lookout for that email. It'll probably be more than one, but it'll the first one will have this audio recording in it. And like I said, I'll make sure that your son gets a copy of it as well.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, thanks so much, brother. Take care of yourself. All right, and Black Liberation.
Black Liberation, Dr. Kambon. Good hearing from you.
All right.